All right. Hey, guys. Welcome to another episode of Ironis Insights. I got a great guest here, Marcus Blair, the founder of Omega Business Solutions. Marcus, where are you calling from today?
Knoxville, Tennessee, where it is a cloudy, overcast, drizzly December morning.
We're looking at about the same up here in New York. It's a little dreary, but definitely excited to talk to you. You got a lot of exciting stuff going on here at Omega Business Solutions. So why don't you give us a little bit of background, why you got started in this, and then we can get into what you do.
Well, number one, thanks for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. I think there are two types of entrepreneurs in the world. There's entrepreneurs with a plan, and there's entrepreneurs that have bills. I was the latter.
Yeah.
So I worked in manufacturing for a long time. I've been a quality engineer, manufacturing engineer, had several different like supervisory roles. My last job, I was a director of digital transformation. So we were running, and this is the late 2010s. So lots of SQL, Power BI, moving data from here to there, data warehouses, API calls, all that sort of stuff. And during COVID, I lost my job. And like I said at the beginning, we still had bills. So I kind of stumbled into entrepreneurship, and I've managed to stay upright now for 5 years. And so we're going into our 6 year in
Incredible,
January.
man.
So we're
Five
wrapping up our 5th year.
5+ years.
Yeah, it's been a learning curve. With people that, if you're coming out of corporate America and you go
Hmm.
to transition to entrepreneurship, there's a lot of skills that you have your core skill, whatever it is that you're good at, whatever you think you can get people to pay you to do. But there's probably 20 other skills that you need to run a business, and getting any one of those wrong can sink the entire thing. So like, I'm engineer, I'm technical, I'm analyst. My weak spots were sales, marketing, networking, all of those sorts of soft skills where people have to know you exist. I kind of naively thought if I did a good job, they would just, kind of show up.
Yeah,
And yeah,
exactly.
it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way
It
at all.
it doesn't, and when you're running your own business, also just speaking for myself, you got to wear many hats, and especially at the ground level, right? When you first start, you don't have as much support, and it's certainly a transition period there. So, I mean, for you to be already, 5 years down the line, obviously you're still paying the bills. That's a good
Yeah.
sign, right?
Yeah, still paying the bills, and it's still a learning curve. That's the one good thing
Yeah.
about entrepreneurship, and it's the one very difficult thing. I talked to a friend of mine who runs a consulting firm in downtown Knoxville, and so we were sitting at in his office. He's been on the Inc. 5000 list, I don't know, last 4 or 5 years,
Mhm.
and so he's already like on the upswing, and I've known him for a while. And so I asked him, I was like, does it ever get any easier? He says, no, I still don't think I have any idea what I'm doing, because every step forward you take, it's the first time you've been there, and it's a new set of problems. So his problems now were around staffing and hiring the right people, and now they command big salaries, and training, onboarding, offboarding, all of these types of HR issues. I'm like, yeah, that's not a problem for me at all.
Yeah. Once you figure something out, right? You grow, then your business starts growing, and then you don't. Then it's like, whoa, well, how do I scale this thing? I have to
Yeah.
pay benefits now. Like, what do I have to hire someone in HR? Like, it gets a little bit. There's always something new, right? And there's always something to learn, which I think is the exciting part about entrepreneurship, is that you never know what tomorrow will bring. And that's why we invite founders and business leaders like yourself on the show. So yeah, really
it's an
exciting.
interesting it's an interesting time to be in digital transformation at all. Like, I've worked in this field now for 10 years, maybe a little longer than that. And the acceleration since November of 2022 to now, and it's not so much that the rate of change has accelerated, because the rate of change really picked up during COVID,
Hmm.
but the amount of hype and the froth and just the static and the noise around generative AI has changed the digital transformation landscape. In theory, maybe not so much in practice, because people use it, but the adoption rates, I don't think we're seeing the adoption that we would have predicted 2 or 3 years ago. All these mass layoffs and all this sort of stuff. And a lot of projects aren't successful because they're not following fundamental digital transformation principles. Like, it still starts with people. And so if you don't cover the basics, AI is not going to fix it for you. It's just, it's just not going to work.
I completely agree. And when it comes to, and the AI technology, which is it's so drastically improved, right? The past couple of years even. And it's not going to replace a human right now. What we need are humans that are able to use these tools and implement them properly, right? And that is what can really help a company. Now, you also mentioned just most companies, yes, they want to adopt it, but they don't know how, or they don't even have basic automations still. They still have old systems, like dinosaur age systems, using Excel spreadsheets, for tracking their sales pipeline, like things like this. It's an interesting time right now where I think there's a lot of companies that want to adopt, but they can't or don't know how.
Yeah, even I'm glad you actually mentioned Microsoft Excel. Like, Microsoft Excel is the world's old, I think it's the most widely used data analysis tool. But think about all of the features that Microsoft Excel has and everything that it can do. And then think about the little sliver of that we use every day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, it is an incredibly capable program. And I bet the average user uses less than 10% of its capabilities. And AI is no different. The models that get released, I hate these articles. This is the best model. This is the best model. It's all way overkill for what you need. And there's been a raft of this lately with the release of Gemini 3, and I think Claude Opus just came out. Was it 4.5?
Yeah.
Now just came out. So I read an article this morning. It's like, oh, Claude is taking the lead again. No, it hasn't. And I'm not saying it's good or it's bad.
Sure.
But I mean, these things are trained on trillions of parameters. Like, allegedly, Chat GPT 5 has 1.76 trillion with a T parameters. That's why you can ask it about that pain in your knee and the politics of the War of 1812 and marine life and the Indian Ocean, right? But how much of that do you really need?
Yeah.
Like you want it to revise an email or create a blog post or
Right.
write some code or whatever. You just don't need all of this stuff. And so if there's one thing that I could say to the audience, like, if you're trying to, they're like, hey, how do we get started in this thing? Just pick one, man. Like, just put the logos on a table, choose the logo you like the best, go with that one and start there. And really, it shouldn't be more than a 5-minute discussion as far as like which model to use. Like, whatever you want to do with it, it can handle it. I promise you.
Yeah, it's a lot of them are completely overkill for what's actually needed, right? What we've seen at Ironis, and we partner with a lot of companies to help implement these technologies, because sometimes maybe you don't know what to type in to get what you want. Maybe you don't even maybe it is too overwhelming to know where to start, right? Which one do I need to use? Maybe you need a little more than just a black box to type a prompt into, right? That's kind of like where we come in. But I want to hear more about you. So, your company has been around, 5 years. How have you handled this, this new transition of, AI implementation? And I know you work with, some automation. Why don't you tell us a little about what you do?
For the first 3 years, we were doing a lot of automation type of stuff. And there's several different ways to deploy automation. You can use a platform like a Maker's Zapier or N8N or something like that.
Yep.
You can always do it the old fashioned way and write some code and deploy it in Lambda right, and set it to a webhook so it'll trigger that way. There's lots of different ways to run automation, and even now, most of the big software providers like Salesforce, QuickBooks, HubSpot, they have automation tools built in them,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's as a design principle, we would really only use third-party platforms to bridge the gap and build the automations inside the main automation inside the platforms themselves. So now we've got a lot into AI implementations. We built a product called Core IQ, which Core IQ is a business intelligence tool. It connects to data sources. So that could be databases, it could be your Confluence, Company Wiki, SharePoint, OneDrive, whatever, and also to SaaS platforms. So Salesforce, HubSpot, Workday, whatever you got. And it makes all of that information available to you in a chat interface. And you can access it from Teams or Slack or like a web portal. And so now the idea is that we're going to take a company's data and make it available to the employees wherever they are. A good example, one of our business development managers, she'd only been working for us for like a month. And we went to a conference and she got a meeting with a bank. Well, she's never been in a meeting with a bank before. So she takes her phone, she opens up Teams, and then she asks, hey, what are talking points for the bank? How can Omega Business Solutions help a bank? She gets a response here. Here are your talking points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, it's highly regulated. So remember this, stay away from that. So just like that, she had talking points going into the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And she did that on the walk from the car to the coffee shop. A lot of people use dashboards and things, and dashboards are fine. I'm not knocking dashboards at all, but they're always rearward looking, and they're not always available. That most dashboards are tied to a single data source. If you need something that's not in that data source, it's not accessible to you. So even if you have the Power BI app, say on your phone, and you can open it up and you can look at all the charts and everything, but what if you need something that's not in that dashboard? It's over here. Or over there, or if you want to take some sort of action, if you can't with Core IQ, you can just type in like @agent and then tell it to do something and it will take action on your behalf. You can't do that with a dashboard.
What's an action? Give me an example of an action that you can use with Core IQ, like @agent and telling it something to do.
So the latest one I built for us internally was I hate business. I hate you go to a conference, you get a business card, and then you've got to like type all that information in.
Yep.
Or there's a couple of apps where you can like take a picture.
Yeah.
Okay. And they work pretty well. But the action that we built was you take a picture, you upload it to the channel, and you say @agent. What did we call this workflow? It's called like upload card or create contact or something like that. Sure. Anyway, it uses Azure Cloud's OCR to scrape the information off the business card. It puts them into the CRM. It sends them a connection request on LinkedIn, and it sends them a follow-up email.
Let's go. So I love that.
Take a picture, hit send, off it goes. It does its thing.
That is awesome. That is one of the biggest. That was one of the most annoying things is business cards today. And I still have them. I still use them. I also have a digital business card, right? But even those, like what is someone gonna do? Scan your phone like in person, and then are they actually gonna hit save? And are they ever gonna text you? Do you ever get their contact if you give them yours? It's a mess, right?
Yeah, it's just and that's one of those things. It's a really good application for AI because there's a finite start, there's a finite finish, there's specific tasks that to be performed, right? And it's not just like you give it keys to the kingdom and be like, oh, fix all my problems. This is I wouldn't even call that an agent necessarily. That's an AI enabled workflow.
Yeah.
Which most agents are. I mean, it's kind of a myth, these autonomous digital creatures that just kind of live somewhere and do things, right? Without being told. Most of them are workflows and they're calling tools. They're not creating tools on the fly because cybersecurity. Do you really want AI creating its own code?
Yeah.
Right. To do stuff? That's a terrible idea.
Yeah, yeah,
right? That's
yeah.
just a terrible idea. So, that is, and that's how we end up deploying it. A lot of our clients, we start them off with HR because there's an immediate impact. There's always people in and out of the HR office, and they're bringing in pieces of paper to request time off. They're asking if they get Super Bowl Monday off.
Hmm.
They're asking if what the FMLA policy is and what the bereavement policy is. And it's a very repetitive process, but the employee handbook is a fairly static document. It gets updated maybe once a year, maybe twice a year.
Oh, if that,
Um,
yeah. I mean, depending on the size of the company. I mean,
so you can set up a self-service chat bot for the employees where they get the information they need when they need it. That keeps them from coming into the office. You build 3 or 4 agents to to have these AI powered workflows, time off requests, different things like that, tax updates, yada yada. And you have just removed 25% of the workload from the HR staff,
yeah,
right?
requesting, yeah, like requesting time off. If you're moving into an apartment, I know it's especially important in New York. You need like proof of employment. These things, right?
Yeah.
These
And those are easy,
yeah, it's
right?
they're simple tasks, but it takes sometimes a week to get
Yeah,
that from HR.
it's very low risk. We're not messing with the general ledger here.
Yeah.
We're not sending. It's not external facing, so you don't have to worry about cybersecurity as much. You do have to worry a little bit if you're going to let the users get information from your HR platform, salary, benefits, that sort of thing. Then you've got to be more careful with the cybersecurity because there's PII and you don't want any leakage. Like I can't go in and ask questions about you, for instance, and get the
Mhm.
information
Right.
but as long as it's one way, it's a perfect place to start. And I think it was IBM saved like 3.5 billion dollars with HR implementation like that. And they've
Hmm.
published a couple of documents, one case study, I'm sure, but they've published a couple of content pieces about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's such a cool, interesting like value add you guys have for I think and it has a lot of use cases for a couple different size companies. I mean, so are you focusing on like mid-tier small
Yeah.
business, mid-tier companies?
We like to work with mid-sized companies, although the first 2 clients we signed are both enormous. Like they're both they're both in the billions of dollars of revenue. But both of
Congratulations.
those, yeah, yeah, it's fantastic. You love to have them as clients,
Yeah,
but the conversation's a little different when you're
sure.
talking to those guys because they have all the resources in the world. It's more like, no, we don't feel like it, so you do it.
Yeah.
Not how do we do this?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Exactly.
you know the companies between like 30 and 150 million dollars a year, those are a good spot for us. And they tend to get a lot of benefit out of core IQ as well. And the reason why is our approach. So, and even in I told you what we were talking offline, I told you I'm going to give a presentation tonight about AI
Yeah.
enterprise. I have a slide in it that's a disclaimer slide, and it's a pyramid, and it says organizations, and then under that is systems, and under systems it says processes, and processes is the bottom of the pyramid, and then processes sit on 7 bricks. It's
Hmm.
man, method, material, environment, data, technology, and measure. I think.
Hmm.
And there's a giant bold heading across that slide that says AI cannot transform your organization
Hmm.
because it's only one brick. It's one
Right.
technology in the little bit of the bottom, right? In the very, very bottom. That's it. You have to have people. You have to have the correct environment. You have to have standardized processes. You have to have good data hygiene. It takes all of these things. And when we're working with mid-market companies, that's where we start. So we have an assessment that we do, and those are the 5 things we're looking for in order: standardized business processes. Now I'll put myself on the spot. Standardized business processes. Oh yeah, good data,
Hmm.
business intelligence. Like, are you using the data that you have right now?
Hmm.
Then we can talk about applied AI.
Hmm.
And the ultimate goal, of course, is to have a digital twin where it's not only retrieving information, but you can run simulations. You can ask questions like, what happens if we hire another project manager?
Right.
Right. And it can look at your company's performance and be like, okay, well, it's going to cost you, 80K a year here, but it's going to lower this workload here and here. And, that's like the thing that I'm most interested in right now is digital twins. I'm trying to build one internal to Omega right now.
Really exciting. I mean,
Yeah,
this is
it's
cool.
it's really cool. So basically, um, if you think of if you have data, right, and you need admittedly, you need a lot of data. You can't simulate anything that you don't have data to uh, base it on.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to simulate hiring, for instance, then you need all your hiring data and you need their workload,
Mm-hmm.
Like how much time they spend doing these separate things and how much
Sure.
that costs you and whatever. But anyway, you take all the data, and between the data and the LLM, you add a layer of machine learning algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
And then you teach those algorithms the patterns of the data. You can do it supervised or unsupervised or whatever. But anyway, they learn the patterns, therefore they learn to predict.
Mm-hmm.
So when you ask the LLM a question, now instead of calling a tool, that that gets a list of customers from your CRM, now you're calling a tool that's a machine learning algorithm, and you're giving it an input, and it runs the algorithm and comes back and says, okay, this. And so it takes that response and then gives that to the LLM, which then synthesizes an answer and gives it to you.
I mean,
And
how
so,
helpful is that for a
yeah,
company?
wouldn't it though? It is the coolest thing in the world. Like,
Yeah.
I have a friend who works out at Oak Ridge. There's a national lab not far away from where we live in Oak Ridge.
Uh-huh.
They built a digital twin. And of course, they have like tons of PhDs and
Sure.
endless
A
amounts
lot
of
more
money and
resources.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they built a digital twin to mimic or imitate one of their supercomputers so that they can monitor the energy consumption. So in this digital twin, they can turn dials and flip levers and stuff, and then it'll predict how much energy it's going to use in these different configurations.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was like, okay, well, that's cool. But we used to have simulation software, like I think Siemens and a few other
Mm-hmm.
companies, they make simulation software for manufacturing lines.
Yeah.
And the goal for those is to predict variation.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just ask a question and, like, hey, what if we had two of these machines instead of one, and get it? You actually have to go in, change it, update everything, and then run the sim. And being able to do that for a company would just be amazing. So we always try to build things internally before we sell it to anybody else. So that is what we're working on right
Very
now.
cool. That's exciting. Do
It
you have
is.
any projection on when you think you're going to be completed with something like that? Would you have a goal?
Well, there's a conference in April called Code Stock here in Knoxville. I think it's April 27th and 28th. Um, and I just submitted a brief to present about the digital twin
So you
at
so
that
you did it to
conference.
yourself. So you did it to yourself.
So the 25th is about the deadline.
Okay, okay. Nice. I mean that's certainly ambitious, but I mean, it sounds like you're well on your way.
Yeah, I don't know that we would be able to simulate the entire company,
Sure.
but if we could just get accurate simulations for just like one thing,
Little pilot.
right, where
Yeah.
we train the algorithms and whatnot, because that's the actual implementation. That's what it would look like. You would start with like maybe financials, and then you'd move on to hiring, and then you'd move on to this vertical and this vertical and this
I
vertical.
I feel
So
like in any use case, any company is gonna probably want to do baby steps first, anyways.
yeah,
Right. They're not gonna give you the keys to the kingdom,
yeah,
right away. Um,
and that type of there's also a major case, which I'm a huge privacy advocate anyway. Like I'm a major advocate for running LLMs locally hosted or completely offline using
mhm.
open source models, that kind of thing. And if you take your business and you build an accurate simulation of your business, you have to guard that thing with your life.
Yeah.
Like, it has access to everything.
Hmm.
Everything that you want to simulate, it has access to, which means there's going to be tons of personally identifiable information. There's going to be tax information. There's going to be financial information. There's going to be client information. And I mean, it needs to be offline,
Yep.
like on a server or something like that. And that's where it lives. That way you can use it locally. Like it's in this room, it's in this office.
Right.
That way it can't be hacked from, China and sold
Yeah,
on the dark web.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah. Interesting, man. That's exciting stuff. So
yeah.
you got a lot of things cooking here. Uh, Core IQ, this digital twin. I love it. What if you had a magic wand right now? What could and you could erase any problem uh, or challenge that you have? What do you think it would be?
Elites.
Yeah,
What not I'm not even blinking, no second
yeah. You
guessing.
said it pretty quick.
Leads. I would teach myself how to generate leads.
Yeah.
That is immediately what I would do. Because Core IQ itself was born from an annoyance I had, that I kept having to log in and out of all these different softwares. I was like,
Yeah.
if I can ask Chat GPT anything on the internet, why can't I have that same thing for my business? Like
Mhm.
where I could plug all this information in. I see the digital twin as a natural evolution of that, where you go from not just reading data, not just writing data back, but moving into prediction, right? So it's a natural evolution to me, but it's always been hard for me to get that like into the ether, like to put it in front of people and be like, oh, these are the things you can do and blah 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 blah. And so if I could teach myself that, then yeah, no contest. That would be the absolute first and last thing I did.
Yeah, I mean that's it's very common. A lot of my guests that I speak to, great product, just got to get the word out there, and get it in front of the right people.
And I it's gotten better like in the last 6 months or so, because honestly, I've kind of leaned into stuff just like this, podcasts, being on stage in front of cameras, behind microphones.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, the honest truth is, no B2B business is going to sell software with like a 5-figure price tag or higher because they clicked on your Google ad,
yeah,
or or they like, oh, the font on that blog is amazing. Let me fill out this form. It's not going to happen,
yeah,
right? And especially when we're a small companies, we come with risk.
yeah.
If the decision maker were to hire, I don't know, McKinsey or Accenture, and the whole thing blew up, it's not going to be their head on the chopping block,
Hmm.
because McKinsey and Accenture have brand recognition.
Hmm.
Marcus Blair doesn't have brand recognition. So
Hmm.
if I get my foot in the door and I screw up, then the person who made that decision, somebody's going to come to them and go like, well, why'd you hire those guys? Like,
Hmm.
they're not reliable. They're small, but right. And so I think as small companies, especially when you're trying to deal with larger companies or enterprises on occasion, you have to fight that battle. And the only way to overcome that battle is to create authority around yourself.
I
You
think
have to have the brand recognition.
I think you nailed it. And what you can give them too is a personalized aspect of business, right? A more human approach, which is like, this is me. This is me working for you, right? Very close knit
Mm-hmm.
team. Um, you're gonna get a better level, more personalized level of service versus like a massive McKinsey where they're gonna throw 13 different people on it and they're gonna be switching roles, and
Mm-hmm.
it may not be. Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, okay.
I was going to say too, you kind of have to get in where you fit in. So
Yeah.
if I'm not going to get Bank of America as a client, that's just not realistic. Okay. But if I come down a little bit, I might be able to get a regional bank, or
Hmm.
I might be able to get like a local bank. And
Hmm.
you can start there, because the odds of you getting to someone who can make the decision is much, much better. Local companies and all the way up to the mid market, I'd say 50 million, 75 million, up in there,
Hmm.
they're still pretty strong in the community. You'll see people at the chamber of commerce and doing stuff, and they're sponsoring local teams and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that the big companies don't do that, but
Mhm.
there's just a level of involvement that a community level business has that a corporate one doesn't.
Right.
They just swim in deeper waters. That's all.
Hmm.
So if you can get into that mid market and you can prove yourself a bit, and then you'll have a much better shot at landing the enterprises. So that's basically the path that we're trying to walk right now. Build authority around us in the AI space. We're starting to get some of those mid-market businesses now. So got to make sure that they're happy, got to make sure Core IQ delivers, right? And then we can use that momentum to try to move up market further until we find, like the best place for Omega to be.
Exactly. You want to use that momentum and also use those case studies, right? That's
Yeah.
what will really help you there, especially once you get into the larger companies. Wow, this was phenomenal. Really, really insightful, man. Thank you so much for joining us, Marcus. Before we log off, where can my audience find you?
So we've got omegabusiness.us, that's the website. And
Perfect.
I'm Marcus at Omega on almost every major platform, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. And we have our main company page on LinkedIn, which we put out a LinkedIn newsletter. That's doing pretty well. So there's some pretty good content in there as well.
Awesome. So I'll put those links below the video here, guys, and I want you to have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for joining me.
Hey man, really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks.